Day 6 of Genesis has often been treated as a point of tension between Scripture and science. This need not be the case. Scripture and science address different aspects of reality. Scripture speaks in theological and phenomenological terms, while science investigates mechanisms, processes, and timelines. The goal here is not to collapse one into the other, nor to claim certainty where none exists, but to explore whether the two accounts can be understood as coherent rather than contradictory. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the sky and over the livestock and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created mankind in his own image, in the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. Genesis chapter 1 verses 26 to 27. In Genesis, humanity is presented as intentionally created, bearing the image of God, and entrusted with responsibility over the created order. The text does not describe biological mechanisms or timescales. Genesis instead makes claims about identity, purpose, and the relationship of human beings with life and creation. Science tells us that human beings did not appear suddenly. Our bodies are suspected to have emerged through a long biological process, life adapting, branching, surviving, and changing over millions of years. From early primates to anatomically modern humans, the story is one of gradual development. There is no clear biological line where an animal suddenly becomes human. No single fossil marks the moment. Evolution describes a continuous process, governed by natural laws, mutations, and selection, mechanisms that operate without obvious foresight within the system. However, throughout the evolutionary process, something rather remarkable occurs relatively late in this story. Roughly tens of thousands of years ago, the archaeological record changes. This is the point where humanity crossed a threshold, not of anatomy, but of consciousness. Human thought and behavior suddenly changed to include unprecedented language complexity, and increased use of symbolic representation, and moral and ethical social norms. Humans begin to tell stories that will last for generations. They plan far beyond the present moment. They recognize themselves not just as creatures, but as persons. This can arguably be seen as the transition from mere survival to self-awareness. Science can describe this shift with increasing clarity, but questions of meaning remain open. Genesis does not tell us how long the process took, nor does it describe neurons, fossils, or genetics, but it does tell us something real about our origin in a way that is simple, accessible, and profoundly human. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image." Adam and Eve need not represent the first biological humans. They may represent the first humans to awaken, not merely as creatures responding to instinct, but as beings aware of meaning, responsibility, and consequence. This is the birth of the image of God, not a change in bone or blood, but a change in being. If humanity is made in God's image, then that image need not be primarily physical. Just as Scripture describes God primarily by character, so too can human beings be attributed to the image of God when they exhibit those same characteristics. As human consciousness awakens, the capacity to reflect God's character becomes possible. The cognitive awakening, the emergence of self-awareness, language, meaning, and moral concern, aligns not with domination or survival alone, but with becoming beings capable of love, justice, humility, and care. In this light, the image of God is not something suddenly added to humanity, but something gradually expressed. The evolution of the mind becomes the stage upon which the likeness of God is revealed. Evolution may explain the process of our existence, but it does not eliminate the possibility of a creator. It may, in fact, deepen the question of origin and purpose. Natural laws do not explain why the universe is capable of producing consciousness. Random mutations do not explain why meaning exists. Survival alone does not explain why we experience guilt, remorse, love, empathy, compassion, or beauty. What if the evolutionary process itself is a product of creation? What if God set the universe in motion, fully knowing the outcome from the beginning? What if every step of evolution, though apparently undirected from within, unfolded exactly as intended by the one who stands outside our conscious reality? Humanity may have evolved naturally, yet intentionally, not necessarily guided moment by moment, but known from the very beginning. The story of Adam and Eve may be the story of humanity waking up, not into unlimited freedom, but into conscious participation in a reality already set in motion. We experience our lives as choices, yet we live within a story whose beginning and end were already known. This is the paradox of being human. We feel responsibility, love, guilt, hope, and longing as deeply real, even as we are shaped by a world, a history, and a design we did not choose. Perhaps this is what it means to be made in the image of God, not absolute independence, but awareness. Not control, but relationship. Not certainty, but meaning. And perhaps the most important question is not how we began, but how we live within the awareness we've been given. If truth is one, then every honest pursuit of it, scientific or spiritual, must eventually meet. Perhaps one day, as human understanding grows, what science observes and what Scripture reveals may be seen as parts of a single, coherent truth. Day 6 is not about choosing between science and Scripture. It may be about recognizing that science may tell us how we became human, but Scripture tells us why it matters. We are not accidents. We are not merely animals. We are beings capable of love, responsibility, and relationship, made aware of ourselves, our actions, and our Creator. And if this is true, then science and faith are not enemies. They are witnesses, speaking different languages, about the same profound truth.